I would like to ask the next speaker, Mr. Novak Vujicic, to present us the topic, copyright and freedom of expression on social media. Please for your speaking.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you to organizers for this wonderful conference. And I think this is really important for us young scholars to can share our opinions and thoughts about this issue of freedom of expression. And also I would like to thank you all the previous participants for their interesting and informative presentations. I really enjoyed all of them. And I apologize for I was here with you from the beginning, but last few presentations was really interesting, and I was so many new things come up on my mind regarding the copyright and freedom of expression. First, to present myself, I forgot that. My name is Novak Vujicic. I'm coming from Belgrade. I work as a teaching assistant at the University of Belgrade Faculty of Law. And area of my research is copyright. So I deal with freedom of expression only in that part. It intervenes with copyright law and copyright protection. So outline of my presentation is divided into two parts. In first part, I would like just to mention few remarks about interaction between copyright and freedom of expression in general, and then I will just talk about this interaction on social media. So first to start with the subject of protection of copyright. All of you know that copyright protects the original work of authorship. For example, literary works, photographs, computer programs, music, etc. Basically, it protects information because all these copyrighted works are some kind of information. Copyright consists of two sets of rights. First, economic rights and moral rights. Economic rights protects some economic interests of copyright holders, and they encompasses, for example, right of reproduction, and for us really important is right of exclusive right to communicate copyrighted work to the public made available, for example, via internet, via social media platforms. Moral rights are there to protect some personal bond between author, and it grants some exclusive rights of the copyright holders on some information. So it's like their content. Right granted under copyright regime are not unlimited. Certain exceptions and limitations are imposed to these copyrights, and these exceptions are in interest. One of them is freedom of express, copyrighted work for parody or for critique or for caricature. So it's possible to use protected copyrighted work for some form of freedom of expression, and I will not talk about subject of protection of freedom of expression because previous presenters talk about it, but generally also freedom of expression allows us that's our right to receive information, and when and it's granted by European Convention of Human Rights and then Charter of Fundamental Rights of European Union. But when copyright and freedom of expression interact is the situation when someone wants to use copyrighted work to express her or his opinion, and in that case we can have usage of copyrighted work. And question is that usage allowed by copyright law, even though it can be considered as the usage of right of freedom of expression. And generally, how these two rights coexist? These two rights coexist in, I can say, in balance, mutual limitation, and that's the the main principle. The balance should be achieved in the case of conflicts of these two rights. And in some case, European Court of Human Rights says that for the purpose of striking a balance between copyright and right to freedom of expression, has referred to the need to take into account the nature of the speech or information at issue, inter alia, political discourse and discourse concerning matters of public interest. So we need to balance these rights in every concrete case, which specific case, which could be quite challenging. And we said that copyright protection is limited by these mechanisms of copyright limitations and exceptions, which allow to general public in general, to people to use copyrighted work for without permission of copyright owner or without paying the fee. But these copyright limitation and exceptions are are explicitly prescribed in law. So its question is, which was in front of the Court of Justice of European Union, the question was whether freedom of expression put some additional and extend these exceptions and limitations toward copyright. And the Court of Justice of the European Union said that freedom of information and freedom of the press are not capable of justifying beyond the exceptional limitation provided in the copyright law a derogation from authors' exclusive rights of reproduction and communication to the public. So the Court of Justice of the European Union explicitly stand on point that copyright exceptions and limitation are not extended by freedom of expression rights. So we have now this situation in general relation between copyright and freedom of expression, and now how it lives in area of social media. Social media, you know all that posting the content, copyrighted content on social media may constitute copyright infringement. And all around the social media, you have like notes. You should not violate copyright of others. So you should be careful what are you posting on your social media accounts. And that's the main rule for usage of social media. You can't use other copyrighted work if you don't have a consent, or if you can said that in your situation some copyright exception or limitation could be applied. When someone is unlawfully using copyrighted work on social media, the question is who is liable for the infringement? Who will be liable? And we have two options: the user of social media account, and it's obvious he is the direct infringer of copyright law. But the problem with user, they're hard to track, and it's hard to enforce copyright law against users of social media. So there is also a question of liability of social media platforms for copyright infringement committed by their users. And we have rules on indirect liability of social media platforms as intermediaries. So they are prescribed in certain documents on the European Union level. And so we have, first of all, directive on electronic commerce, which prescribes liability of social media platforms as providers of of services of electronic commerce, providers of hosting services. And this system is called notice and takedown. When social media platform is informed or noticed about possible copyright infringement, it should take down this content, which infringing content. But this was case from like 20 years, and we now have this notice and takedown system which is functioning on general on internet platforms, not just on social media platforms. But in 2019, we have new directive on copyright and related rights in digital single market, which prescribes stricter regime. So now social platforms, especially big ones, Facebook and others, need to react a little bit more proactively. And this is about copyright on social media. It could be infringed, and the social media platform would be liable if they don't stop the infringement of copyright. General freedom of expression on social media is now the second part. The general rule is users of the social media platform should fully enjoy their right to freedom of expression. There are certain limitations, but generally, the general rule is we should enjoy our freedom of expression on social media. And now, what's the problem? When we want to use a right to freedom of expression, but we want to express our opinion by using some copyrighted works. So we are now in the gray area, where infringement of copyright could occur. So in this situation, when someone is using copyrighted work and express its opinions on social media, we have some problem. If there is an unauthorized usage of copyrighted work, the social media platform have two obligations. They need to stop or prevent copyright infringement, and they need to ensure freedom of expression is not unnecessarily restricted. So what could happen in this hypothetical situation? Someone could report copyright infringement, and social media need to react. So social media platform can take down certain post of a certain user, and that user could feel that his freedom of expression is unnecessarily restricted. As we said, the users' general copyrighted work are we could lawfully use them on social media platform, but we need to but only in certain cases, like for the sake of parody, caricature, critique, or similar. And in these cases, social media platforms need to determine whether a certain copyright exception limit or limits, or are we using our copyrighted work for the sake of parody, critique, or something which is lawful. And that's sometimes that's really difficult. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task even for the courts. So we have a great responsibility on social media, who wants to escape their liability for copyright infringement. On the other stance, they should ensure that freedom of expression is not unnecessarily limited. And how they deal with this issue? Basically, if you look, and Janos, Tomasz talk about it, they have their terms of service and general the contracts, which we all agree when we are opening our accounts. And in those terms of service, we are obliged not to infringe copyright, intellectual property rights in general. And now when someone those terms of service are generally working proactive for protection of copyright, because these social media platforms want to escape from their liability for possible copyright infringement. But they don't talk a lot about freedom of expression. And I think if we compare in general, social media platforms are more proactively working on limiting or stopping copyright infringement than on assessing what is where the right to freedom of expression should be enforced in these cases. And in general, I would like just at the end, what I want to say, the general remark about copyright on social media and its relation with freedom of expression, it's far from an ideal situation. We have a great burden on social media platforms who need to act as judge and to assess whether there is a copyright infringement in certain case, or there is some legitimate usage of copyrighted work for the sake of freedom for expressing our opinion. And in this process of assessing whether there is a copyright infringement or not, the mistakes can occur. So that's the problem, possible mistakes. So sometimes freedom of expression could be limited unnecessary, and sometimes copyright protection also could be limited unnecessary, because maybe copyright social media platforms will not be always capable of well assessing and deferring these two rights, which are generally interact in some really confusing way. So it's hard for scholars and for experienced judges to assess sometimes which of those rights should prevail. And for social media platforms which are working on a massive level with massive usage of copyrighted work, it could be quite problematic, and mistakes could happen. There could be some mistakes. So this is like, and Janos, before me, asked what we should do. That was a good question. What we can do about this how we could solve this situation. It's quite difficult to, I don't see some solution at this point, because we can say also we have a national legal system which could deal with, this copyright infringement, but we need to know that they are too slow, and that for the court procedure and enforcing copyright law in general before the national courts, it can take a while. And for social media, it's important to work promptly, and because these terms and services and this general copyright infringement reporting system is quite effective, and that will be the first thing for the copyright owners to go for now. For this point, how this problem, I don't know, this issue could be resolved. But it's interesting to see that not just from my perspective, copyright is the most important thing, because that's my area of expertise. But this just like the copyright is just one piece of this puzzle, and general this problem of ensuring the freedom of expression in general, some protection of rights on social media. And I think that this challenge will continue, and possibly some certain time in the future it will be solved, and I hope so. So thank you very much for your attention, and it was a pleasure to participating in this conference. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your speaking.